Hey guys, this is Jon,
And I'm Ali.
and this is another episode of the Meatgistics podcast brought to you by wildHERness. We've got a very special guest with us today. We have Jess Rice from wildHERness. Jess is the founder and president of this organization. She founded wildHERness to help connect women to the outdoors and to each other. She's been an outdoor enthusiast her entire life. Last year in 2024, they hosted over 40 events, everything from spoonbill fishing, which is awesome, all the way to processing classes. They drove over 17,000 miles to these events, and they raised and returned $72,000 in proceeds. Jess, my first question for you, are you just somebody who hates downtime?
I get that a lot. I have two young ones too. But I just have such a passion for introducing people to the outdoors because it's made such a significant impact on my own life. You mentioned I was raised by a dad who had us out every weekend, and that's how we're raising our kids. It's just part of our lifestyle. And I've benefited so much from that I can't not keep doing this. I can't sit still when it comes to wilderness. No.
Well, that's great. I saw that your first deer was with your father's 30-30 lever action.
That is correct. Yeah. The
How
old
old were you?
Winchester. I was 22 when I took my first deer.
Okay.
In my
Yeah.
mind, it was like an 11-year-old, and I'm like, that's a lot of recoil for.
No, traditionally the daddy-daughter hunt was the morning of Thanksgiving. Most of the effort was spent on my younger brother, but that was our time that we got to go, just the two of us. And so it ended with a lot more naps than it did deer sightings or deer down. But
Yeah.
finally, when I was in my 20s in college, I put my first doe down. And he was
So how
there
old
in
were
this
you when you started doing that with him?
about 12.
Okay.
So it was about 10 years worth of daddy-daughter hunt dates, and he was right there, chain smoking his Marlboro Reds in the stand next to me when I put that
That
doe
never
down.
helps.
I
I've
mean,
seen people in deer blinds with coffee and cigarettes. It's like, you're really hurting your chances there.
yeah.
Is coffee that
Well,
bad?
Oh, yeah.
he plays the
Okay.
wind, so.
That's good.
So
That's
tell us a
good.
little bit about wilderness.
wildHErness. Well, we can be found on Facebook at just wildHErness, and that's wildHErness. We're wildHERness.org on the World Wide Web, and then on Instagram, it's _wilderness_. Those are our most active social media channels. And wilderness just exists as a community of women that are passionate about the outdoors and all things pursuit in the outdoors. Wilderness doesn't stop at the hook and bullet events. It's hunting and fishing, of course. It's shooting, but it's also creating and homesteading and survival skills, all in the name of creating confidence in women in a place that they've never traditionally been a part of. And the great end result is that we have this whole community of diverse women. They're not like-minded at all. They're diverse, incredibly diverse, and they care all about one thing, and that's conservation and preservation for future generations. And that's what wilderness is.
That's
So,
awesome.
how old were you when you started the organization? Since 5th year now, right? I
That
think.
would make me 37.
Yeah, I shouldn't have asked.
Okay.
I realized that as I
No.
was asking. I'm like, I'm asking her
Yesterday
to
was
say
my
her age.
22nd
Wait.
birthday.
Sorry.
I am proud to be here.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like Jon and I have a list of questions that we were talking about ahead of time. And I was like, I feel like I have so many questions for you, but it's gonna have to like start in one spot and we're just gonna snowball from there. But okay, what really inspired you to really start a company around this? Because it's what you're doing is more than just like, oh yeah, I go hunting a lot and I encourage women to go do it. Like you've created something so much bigger, and that takes obviously a lot of your time. Sounds like you're busy all the time. So
Yeah.
what made you go, I'm gonna just make something massive?
Well, I got started in the R3, recruiting people into the outdoor world 15 years ago.
Mm.
And I started with the National Wild Turkey Federation's women's initiative, Women in the Outdoors. I did several of those events. Before long, I was hosting my own Women in the Outdoors events for our local NWTF chapter. And then I attended a few Becoming an Outdoors Woman events. Becoming an Outdoors Woman is an international organization aimed at empowering women through weekend-long workshops. They're almost in all 50 states. You can find a bow workshop to go to. Um,
Mm.
and I also attended some Women on the Wing through Pheasants Forever.
Nice.
And
Okay.
there were so many good things from each one of those different experiences, but it felt lacking. It felt like
Mm.
it wasn't inclusive enough. Because every
Mm.
time I showed up, it was me and a bunch of other white gals.
Yeah.
And I felt like that felt short because if we're
Mm.
truly in the name of conservation, we have to include everybody.
Mm.
So that was another thing that sparked the interest of the other three founders and myself, was creating something where women felt comfortable to explore new things in an atmosphere that was welcoming to all.
Okay.
It
So do
was
you think that's one? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, please.
I was going to say, so do you think that's one of the big challenges for women in this space is that it's traditionally been a male dominated field, I guess?
Certainly. There's a multitude of barriers that women cite when it comes to participating in the outdoors, but it that is one of the top ones that always comes back. And creating a space for women to learn in no way diminishes the male perspective here. We have an
Mhm.
incredible source of knowledge and mentorship from many men in our lives, who we
Mhm.
could have never done any of this without. So I just want to make sure that we're not
Sure.
a man hating bashing organization by any means. Uh, it's just women learn differently. My
Mhm.
favorite analogy is that women don't go to the bathroom alone, so the chances of us picking up a gun and marching out into the woods alone is probably not going to happen.
That's so
Um,
That
perfect.
is a great one.
I literally,
so
right before this, walked towards the bathroom and there was like a group of us that were walking in together. It was
a
amazing.
gaggle. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
Do you do anything with hunter safety classes specifically for women? Because I feel like that,
absolutely.
yeah, I feel like that's a
Mm.
big barrier to entry.
It is. It is
Mm.
certainly. But creating a place where women feel supported in a safe environment, where they can learn A to Z is really, really important.
Mm.
I don't know if either of you have ever either tried to learn how to drive a manual transmission from somebody of the opposite gender.
Yeah, I did. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, my mom taught me.
It's
Did she
rough.
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my family was always manual until like
Okay.
20 years ago. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It can be very tough, especially if it's your significant other.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Yep.
Or I remember trying to back a trailer with my husband watching. Um,
Oh my gosh.
so wilderness exists to break down barriers like that. In fact, one of our very first classes was boater education, and a big component of that was learning how
Mm.
to back a trailer. We enlisted the Kansas game wardens to help us on
Mhm.
that. So they brought out their equipment. They taught us how to drive boats. We took the education certification exam, and we got yelled at by the game wardens while we were learning how to back up a trailer. So
So if you have a trailer backing up class soon, John would actually like to learn in that. We just talked about this yesterday where he doesn't know how to back
I'm
up a trailer.
classically bad at it. Or famously bad at it. A girl I was seeing a while ago gave me the best tip that almost helped. Is put your hand at the bottom of the steering wheel as you look back, and it'll like kind of make more sense. But I still jackknife like anything I do.
yeah,
It's
we've got one coming
terrible.
up in June. I'll send you the details, John.
Okay,
There we
sounds
go.
good.
Just one of the girls for the
Hey,
weekend.
I can hang.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool that you're able to do that because I grew up with a father and three brothers, no sisters. So any of the hunting stuff that I've learned, I did with all men. My dad taught me how to back up a trailer. I'm not great at it. I'm just gonna put that out there. But
Better than
like
I am.
taught me how to back up a trailer shortly after I started driving. Um, so while I can handle instruction from them, maybe my dad better than my brothers. Brothers gets into another situation.
Right.
But if you just put some like random man that I don't know, sometimes I just get I don't intimidated.
Sure.
Yeah, and if they have more of a forceful teaching style, I'm not necessarily one to vibe with that. So I'm like, I just start to shut down. So I love the idea of sometimes it does just feel like a safer space from a woman's perspective to be with a bunch of women that are teaching each other some of those bigger life skills. And okay, you were talking about different types of like survival skills and homesteading.
Yeah.
Okay, how did you get into that? I'm trying to learn more about those worlds, so very excited.
It was just the timing of the organization. We hit the ground running during COVID. So a lot of
Mhm.
our classes were virtual. There was a big demand for that. You know, people couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, couldn't see each other. So we saw a real shift after COVID when, you know, all the meat processing, you guys probably know, meat processing plants were
Uh-huh.
affected, shut down. We saw this huge increase in people wanting to be involved in their food chain, you know, the process from
Mm.
the beginning to the end. We saw people who were traditionally vegan, vegetarian, coming to our
Mhm.
Learn to Hunt events because they wanted
Yeah.
to find sustainable protein for their family, and know that it was only their hands that had ever been on it.
Mhm.
So
That's very interesting.
yes,
Yeah.
it happened to be the timing, Allie.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
Jess, I used to be in much better shape. I like worked out like a maniac. I watched everything I ate. And oddly, probably opposite of a lot of people, COVID kind of killed that for me. Like it just got me out of my routine. And I've never managed to make it quite back to that level. But one of the things I used to say a lot of the time is that I probably had more in common with a very health conscious vegan than I did with the average American consumer diet. Like I hadn't had fast food in 8 years, 10 years, something like that. I cared about where all my food came from. I wanted to make sure that as few people that touched it as possible. So it's very interesting that during that time you ran into enough vegetarians and vegans where you thought to bring it up, who were looking to expand into hunting because they saw that as an ethical way to source meat.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
absolutely. And
Mm.
that's, you know, something we always stress in our classes that there's no pressure.
Mm.
It can be very emotionally taxing to take a life, especially
Mhm.
for women who are mothers. You know, after creating life, taking life is very difficult. I'm
Mhm.
struggling with it myself right now. But knowing that they're capable of doing it was the biggest part of the
Mhm.
hunting process, knowing that if they needed to provide for their
Mhm.
family, they knew how to do it. They knew where to go, they knew how to do
Yep.
it safely, and they knew how to do it ethically.
Man, that's interesting you say that because I grew up with my mom would go hunting with us, but she did not hunt. And I've talked with her about it before, and she does not like to take a life. There's something about it to her that really bothers her. One of my brothers does coyote hunting right now, and she hates it because to her it's like killing a dog, and to
Right.
him he's actually doing pest control for
Right.
farmers. Like it's a free service in a way
Yep.
that he just happens to very much
Love.
enjoy.
Yeah.
But I'm not a mother, so I don't feel like I have that same instinct yet. But yeah, it's very interesting to me that
Mhm.
women would have that instinct of like, yeah, there's life here. And I also have I feel like a extra appreciation if I do take the life of a pheasant. Like I'm very grateful for it. We don't
Certainly.
just kill something and leave it. It's to eat. It's to use. I love the feathers. It's
That's yep.
they're beautiful. So
Certainly.
yeah, I just such an interesting point.
And we were able to kind of take that and make it full circle for people. So we were able
Mhm.
to not only just take them hunting, but we would provide a meal made out of whatever our quarry was for the weekend. So it was a full field to fork experience. So it wasn't just, hey, this is where you go, this is how you do it, this is
Mhm.
what it looks like when you kill one, but this is what it tastes like, and this is what you can show your family,
Mhm.
your friends, and these women come in on Friday and they're very intimidated, you know, they're kind of reserved and shut down, and then you just see them by the time Learn to Hunt camp is over on Sunday, they're walking taller. I mean, their shoulders are
That's
back,
cool.
you know, and they're just just like reveling in the confidence boost that they've gotten throughout the weekend. It's
There's
really how we get paid.
there's
Yeah.
absolutely no question that it's a confidence building activity. Not only the ability to go out and harvest a deer or whatever, but then the ability to process it. Because I feel like that one is a huge reason that more people don't hunt, because they're like, okay, I could probably go out and kill a deer. What am I going to do with it then? Right. So
Yeah.
if you teach them that, hey, it's not easy, like it's definitely not easy, but it's not the hardest thing you're ever going to do. Like it's definitely attainable for everybody to be able to process a deer.
Yes.
Then they have that, hey, if, and this is my crazy mind, but like if things ever go really wrong and the grocery stores are gone, like I can provide for my family, for myself, for my community. It is a huge confidence booster.
Yeah. And the way that confidence is portrayed for women in like normal society too, I think that's kind of fun to look at versus what you're talking about, because I think I would rather have the confidence that you're talking about with I can go provide for my family, I can hunt, versus usually confidence is just, yeah, do your hair nice, do your makeup nice, and that's confidence. Which
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, when I go hunting, I do wear
She
makeup and I
does.
make
She
sure my hair looks
glams
nice
out.
because it's an extra boost.
Sure.
Right.
I don't know.
But it carries over into your everyday
Yeah.
life, because you can look around and I know that I can do this. It's something,
Right.
knowledge once learned can never be taken away from you. And
Hmm.
that's kind of our phrase at wildHErness is we teach women that they can so that no one can ever
Mhm.
tell them that they can't.
That's cool. Okay, I have questions about your camp coming up this summer.
Yes, go wild.
I started reading into that. I was like, oh, it's a camp. And then I was like, no, this is like the ultimate summer camp, but for adults. So please tell me
Oh,
more about
man.
this.
This is my brainchild. This is my baby. Go Wild stands for Go Outdoors Where You Lead Discovery. And it's truly a choose your own adventure summer camp experience for adult women.
Yeah.
We have 40 different classes this year that we're offering over the course of 2.5 days. So, well, you start at 9, check in on 9 on Friday, and we leave about noon on Sunday. So, over the course of the weekend, everyone is able to take 5 different classes of their choosing. And it's everything from whole hog butchering to crocheting to learn how to fish fillet to backing up a trailer. John, you should come.
Hey, there you go.
So, but it's an opportunity for women to get their toes wet on a big variety of different experience excuse me, experiences and opportunities, um, without necessarily having to make a big investment. Um,
Mm.
so it's it happens twice a year. The
Mhm.
Missouri one, this is our 5th annual.
Oh, wow.
Missouri Go Wild, yeah. And it will be at Knob Noster State Park, June 20th through 22nd.
Mm.
We do still have some openings in that. But for $285, you get 3 days worth of fantastic meals, including a wild game and wild forage dinner
Mm.
on Saturday night. Um, and your choice of 5 classes, and then bunkhouse or tent lodging.
Okay.
You
I
coming?
mean, that's a pretty good deal for
That's a
sure.
fantastic deal. I mean, if I go to a hotel for one night, it's
In that
250 for
range, yeah.
one night.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you choose what classes were going to go on that list, and then who teaches the classes?
That's a great question. We usually determine our class offerings by demand. So we send out
Mhm.
post event surveys and ask women, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn about? And then our network is growing and we're able to put it out in our, a Facebook group. Hey, does anyone have this skill? One new one we're offering this year is culinary knife skills. Um,
Nice.
Ooh.
and nothing I've ever thought about, but what a wonderful uh, opportunity to learn something that
Mhm.
everybody needs, everybody
Yeah.
uses.
Yeah. I'm thinking about like other cooking classes things. Now that you say culinary knife skills, if I were to go to, oh, what's it called locally? Surlata?
That place down there? I have
Yes.
no idea the name of it.
There's a place that does these like really fancy cooking classes in Wichita, and it's like $90 to $120 for one class. You're talking about a
per
whole
person.
weekend of classes and community for a very attainable price. So
Absolutely.
I
And
love
we
that.
offer little mini sessions before breakfast and after dinner called early bird and night owl
Oh,
sessions. So they're 45 minutes to an hour, just mini sessions, and you can kind of get your
perfect.
you can get your craft fixed that way, or for instance water aerobics this year. So it's an
Ooh.
opportunity for community to continue to be built. It's kind of neat to see these women return year
Mhm,
after year. They It's like they're reuniting with family, you know?
mhm.
They only see each other once a year, but they're Go Wild family. um it's really a magical weekend.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of returning people? Because if I think about, like, my summer camp years as a kid, like, I am so close to some of those girls that we grew up going to camp together. So I would assume that the same thing translates here.
Certainly. I mean, girlhood
Mm,
is girlhood, regardless of how old you
mm,
are. And it does. We do have a pretty high return rate. And then we offer this also again in the fall in Oklahoma. So we even have
Ooh.
people who travel for both events, hoping that maybe next year we'll bring a Northeast Go Wild, since I myself
perfect.
relocated to Maine in September.
Yeah. Okay, where were you at before that?
In Kansas City area.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, so what is it like, sorry if I'm dominating the
No, go
question.
ahead.
What is it like going from Kansas City running this to now you're in Maine running this? That feels like a slight distance change.
I We have an incredible team at wildHErness. It has gone so seamlessly. We do so much virtually anyway.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you, I think my absence has really given some of the women who have taken on leadership roles an opportunity to showcase and shine, which is
Right.
the whole goal. You know, I want these women to know what they're capable of.
Mhm.
And so we have just brought on 5 new coordinators in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and then we're also operating out in New York. And then my first main event just got approved. So we're working in 5 different states now.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And then I forgot to ask this a minute ago, where in Oklahoma will the Oklahoma event be?
Just outside of Tulsa. It's at
All
my
right.
camp that I went to when I was a little girl. So it's incredibly nostalgic. But it's
Fun.
called Camp Waypoint, and it's
Okay.
in Shoto, Oklahoma.
Shoto. Okay.
All right, I got to jump back in.
Yeah.
What do you think of Maine?
Oh my gosh. It's
Isn't it?
incredible. So
So I grew up in upstate New York. And I used to go to Maine every year or so, and man, you can just get lost in the beauty up in there. I think
uh,
it's one of the prettiest states in the country.
it is stunning. And we are right on the coast. So we get to see that rugged, rocky coastline just
Yeah,
up close and personal. It's been
Yeah.
lovely. I really am looking forward to summer here because I've been promised that it's magical.
it is, and then you get to fall, and
We,
that's like nothing you've seen.
Is it just colors
It's
everywhere?
everywhere,
we got to
and
drive over to New Hampshire for the fall last year and
Mm.
see some of, oh my gosh, it's
yeah,
been on my bucket list for years. So,
New Hampshire's another one that is one of the prettier countries in the or what's prettier states in the country. You had a event in Livingston, New York, a couple weeks or months ago,
mhm.
with the deer hunting. That's kind of near and dear to me because that's 30 minutes south of where I grew up.
You're kidding.
So nope, nope. It's just
Ah,
cool to see that all. It's a small world, even though
yeah.
it's a huge world. So in an event like that, is that a hunt that one of the organizations that you work with are donating to you? Is that just a landowner who who's like, hey, you can bring somebody out and hunt on our land? How does that all like? How do you get an event like that going?
That particular event was really unique. It was held on Nature Conservancy property.
Okay.
It was a big collaborative event through the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, Artemis Sportswomen, National
Mm.
Deer Alliance, and ourselves. So, because it had such significant backing in terms of co-sponsors, I think that that's why the Nature Conservancy opened up their property for that hunt. But things like this are really, really beneficial. Recently, did a radio interview for the Kansas City area. And I don't know anybody who still listens to the radio, but somebody did, because he emailed me and he said, I want to help you. I'm a landowner, and I'd love to host some of your events on my place. So we have free reign of several hundred acres with box blinds and ponds for fishing and frogging now.
Mm.
Sometimes that looks like a partnership with a state agency. We do partnered hunts with KDWP in Kansas and MDC in Missouri, where they will, shut down a portion of a conservation area or wildlife area, for us to do a mentored hunt.
Awesome.
Out of the, I think it's 19, or it's either 16 or 19 organizations that you work with, are there a few that you started out with really early on who've just been good supporters throughout the entire process?
Absolutely. Pheasants Forever and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers are just the top two all the time. We partner with them more than any other conservation organization. RMEF has been a great supporter of ours lately. We have gotten a couple of grants from them to purchase archery equipment. So we'll have our own, basic compound bows, so we can teach archery and bow hunting to women and kiddos.
That's one of the things I actually meant to bring up with Livingston. That looked like it was more crossbow
Yeah.
focused. Okay.
And I mean, you grew up in New York, so you know how the hunting laws and regulations up there can be a little tricky.
Mhm.
So the crossbow was a great way for us to kind of level it up. We offered a gun hunt the year before, so it was kind of just an intermediate or a different option for folks to try the crossbow this year.
Yeah, I actually didn't grow up hunting. It's just nobody in my family did it. I grew up fishing all over New York, but didn't start hunting until like 8 or 10 years ago.
Was it because of Walton's that you started hunting?
So I did go hunting once when I lived down in Texas before
Okay.
Walton's, but yeah, no, it was here, being around a bunch of hunters and having some opportunities that I otherwise probably wouldn't have had that made me get into it. But I mean, I was 30 in my late 30s at that point. So while it is different, a little bit more difficult to get into it later in life, it certainly is not impossible at all.
Ooh. Do you see a typical age range of women that come join you for any of your events, or is it all over the board?
It is all over the board. We have some events for um, younger girls, like 9 to 11. We'll do archery events,
That's
fishing
fun.
events for kids.
Mm.
But there particular woman comes to mind who is 72 years old, and I was chasing her around the pheasant fields.
Nice.
So,
That's the dream. I
right?
want to be that person.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, I can't tell you that we have a particular age range that
Okay.
comes to our events. I think there's a lot of grandma classes that we're offering. I say
Okay.
things
Okay.
like, crocheting and
Love it.
things that would be considered grandma habits that we get 24 or 25-year-olds, showing
Yeah.
up at. So, no, there's no rhyme or reason to who comes to what event.
Okay. Do you ever see like mother daughter pairings that show up? Or I guess mother daughter grandmother even?
I have had mother daughter pairs at Go Wild. Last year in Oklahoma, we had 7 mother daughter pairs.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and we just recently partnered
Holy
with
shit.
Missouri Hunting Heritage Federation on a mom and me squirrel clinic, which was a
Did you
great
say
success.
squirrel?
Yeah.
Squirrel clinic. Okay.
Squirrels,
I feel like John looks like he knows what that means. I don't know what that means.
tree
Squirrel hunting?
rats,
Just,
squirrels.
oh, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
just like hunting them.
Yeah.
I don't know why clinic was throwing me off. I was like, it's so
Oh, it's
intriguing.
because listen, for people who don't hunt and have never hunted squirrel, you're thinking of your neighborhood squirrel. No, these squirrels are crafty.
Yeah.
They know you're out there for them, and they do not make it easy.
Good.
But it's
I
also
failed the
an
first time I went squirrel.
easy way to introduce somebody to
That's
a
fair.
great way to hunt.
Hmm.
So, um, Mom and me stuff, definitely. We're going to see a little
Mhm.
bit more of resurgence of that. We have a coordinator that we just
Cool.
brought on who really wants to focus on a lot of the mom and me stuff, because we feel like that is when things stick. You know, you
Mhm.
can make a lifestyle change when your whole family's into it, right?
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
at the squirrel clinic, we had two mother son pairs show up,
Mhm.
and that clinic came with hunter education. You were asking about that earlier, John.
Yep.
We have several people on staff that are hunter education instructors, to teach both in Kansas and Missouri.
Mm.
So we do offer women only classes periodically, but these kids and their moms both got hunter education, and then they got to go out into the woods on a mentored squirrel hunt, and then they got fed a meal of squirrel, which is,
Nice.
it's better than you would think.
What's the go-to thing that you make out of squirrel?
I
Stew
think
is what I make out of
dumplings,
it.
like
Ooh.
squirrel
Dumplings.
and dumplings
Oh,
is a
that sounds
common
good.
one.
Okay.
Anything you use chicken in,
Okay.
um, you braised squirrel is really
Mhm.
great, if you have the patience for it. But yeah.
Fair.
When she said dumplings, I immediately went to, have you ever tried or heard of pheasant rangoon?
Oh, stop. No,
To
that
this
sounds
day, I
delicious.
think it's my
We
favorite thing I've
have
ever
a
made
war
here.
going on about this though, because I thought I invented it,
You did
and John
not.
thinks he
I know
invented
I
it.
did.
But
I know I invented it.
well, did you
To this
air
day,
fry
I
it?
think it's, no, I deep fried it.
I air fried mine.
And now we
I
can deep
think you
fry
can
it in
Oh
have it.
beef
god.
tallow.
Tallow.
We have so much beef tallow. So one of the things that, and this will tie into what we're talking about right now. You said you had like grandma events that young girls were showing up to.
Uh-huh.
I think, and I see it more and more in people high school to mid college age, maybe just past college. There is an attempt to return to some of these skills that our grandparents had that have
Yeah.
fallen by the wayside. Carving, like wood carving, home furniture making, things like that are two that just pop to mind that I see all the time now. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if things like that you continue to get more and more young people interested in. So
Mm.
Certainly. And it ties in, I think, as well to the homesteading, things like learning how
Yeah.
to raise meat chickens, and meat hogs, however, whatever
Mhm.
homesteading journey that might look like. But we get a lot of young folks that want to learn things like that, like sourdough. That's a big one. People love to make the sourdough loaves now and the
Yeah.
sourdough starters.
It feels like it's like the gateway into the homesteading world.
Yeah, yeah.
And somehow I've skipped that. Like my sister-in-law gave me some sourdough starter and it's been sitting on my counter for like 3 months now and I haven't started
has it
it.
grown anything? Oh, it's
It's
just this.
dehydrated,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
haven't added anything to it. But I agree. I mean, I'm more interested in the homesteading world. I would assume just our social media filled society being stuck on notifications all the time has driven a lot of us to be like, I don't think we want this anymore.
Checkout time.
Yeah.
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 I'm amongst the very rare number of people who can claim that they have killed a sourdough. Like, it's supposed to be incredibly hardy and very easy to take care of. No, I killed it. Oh, I
Very proud of
remembered it
you.
was there all of a sudden. I opened it up and I'm like, oh, that's black. I'm like, that's not good.
That does
I
not
just
sound good.
scrape that off. It'll be fine.
The whole thing, though. Like, there was not even just, it was the whole thing. It's like, oh, I'm not even going to open this. This is getting
It's a
thrown
good
out.
try.
Uh,
A couple other questions, though, on events that you've done or are coming up. I saw some archery ones.
mhm.
I saw that you were training people, or somebody was training people in addles.
Yes.
Okay, with the smile I can see on your face, I'm assuming that means you've used an addle.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're
talk to us about
so
that.
fun. They're so fun. So the Missouri Atlatl Association comes out and teaches us how to throw the primitive spears. They set up targets and they have a variety of atlatls there to try, and they usually have custom built ones that you can buy. These are a couple of older gentlemen who have made primitive weapons their passion, and so they're just really incredible instructors. They'll stand there and let you shoot all day if you want.
So, Ali, an
Yeah, please
addle
explain
is
this to me.
basically it's a spear with a. It's not a brace is the wrong word. What would you
It's like a
almost?
thrower.
Yeah, it's like you can't call it a slingshot, but it's
It's
taking some of that in.
yeah.
So
It's
is
like
it giving you help, or do
Yes.
you have
Oh,
to?
you throw. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So an
I th-
atlatl is about 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet long. It looks like a giant arrow, essentially. And there is a woman in Missouri who has killed 2 deer in recent years using an atlatl. And I just think that is so bad because you have to be so close. And
Yeah.
what kind
How
of
close do you have to be for that?
power? Ugh.
well, there is. I think somebody just broke like. Isn't it ridiculous? It was over 100 miles an hour, like the speed of their addle. I saw that 6 months ago, maybe even longer. I struggle with those a little bit because, in my mind, one of the really important things hunting, and especially big game for whatever reason, is a clean shot. Right? Like
Certainly.
the first deer I ever took, I practiced. I don't know how many bolts I put through my crossbow, but it was hundreds. And all that mattered to me was I wanted to make a clean shot. I didn't care about the size of the deer. I cared about the age a little bit, obviously. But I got it through both lungs and the heart, and it went down within like less than 50 yards. It was down. The addle that would make me too nervous. Like this lady's obviously confident to be able to do it. But I just don't think I could get over that in my head.
Like if you miss, you're just gonna wound the
Uh-huh.
animal. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not even just like you probably if you're hitting it with an addle going full speed, it's gonna die almost certainly. But then we have a very long track ahead of us where we're tracking the deer because it's not gonna might not die on the spot. And then a big one for me is the meat is going to suffer in quality the more that deer lives after you've inflicted the mortal wound. It's the same thing with hog and cattle processing. They've done unbelievable amounts of research to make sure that the animal stress is as low as possible right around the time of death because adrenaline spiking into their muscles ruins taste, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, so that was just, I guess, a long-winded way of me saying that I'm impressed in her confidence to take that shot with something like that.
Certainly.
That's so impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the spoonbill? Were you on board for that? Were you there?
I was not there for that one, unfortunately.
Okay.
But everybody got a fish on that trip. They had a couple of 50-pounders pulled in, so it was a good trip.
50?
Have you ever?
Oh, have you never seen a spoonbill?
50. No, there's several things. I have not done exotic or extensive hunting, mainly just upland game. So every time we talk about things like this, my mind is blown.
So spoonbill fishing, first of all, is unlike any other kind of fishing you've ever done because you're not like casting and trying to catch something in its mouth. You're throwing
Okay.
out a weighted hook that you're hoping will snag the back of the animal.
No.
And then you drag it into the boat. So it's a totally different kind of fishing and can be very passive up until you hook one of those monsters.
John just pulled up the picture that's on your website of spoonbill fishing from April 12th to 13th.
Uh-huh.
And this is where we can get into the conversation of, because of AI, I don't know what pictures are real or fake anymore because that looks like it could be AI because it's so massive and impressive.
That's a huge spoonbill.
That's a huge spoonbill.
And they just look like dinosaurs.
Yes.
Like I absolutely love it. And if you cut off the nose, like if you just didn't see the nose, you could also think shark.
I was gonna go narwhal, but
sorry, Ali just found out that narwhals are actually real. She thought
I 100% thought it was a joke from like Elf.
Whoa.
It was an embarrassing moment in my life.
No, it was great.
It's like
it was
unicorns.
absolutely great.
That's hilarious.
Yes, they are the same thing. It doesn't make sense.
Spoonbill inside that rostrum have the coolest structure, if you can pull that up. But it can be taxidermied, Euro mounted,
Oh.
real clean by beetles. So some of the gals from our trip were planning to do that with their rostrums. But paddlefish steaks are delicious. And then also one time with the Department of Wildlife, I sampled some of the caviar. And it's,
Ooh.
yeah. So you can eat all sorts of parts of the spoonbill.
That's cool. So taxidermy, are you a fan of taxidermy? Do you have many?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Uh,
is your favorite?
my husband got to go to New Zealand and shoot a red stag,
Nice. Oh, that's
and it's just enormous.
Yeah.
I love looking at it. He won't let me decorate it with Christmas stuff, but
That's
um,
hilarious.
I do love it. It is just a beautiful animal.
Did you go on that trip with him?
I didn't,
Okay.
unfortunately. He works for the industry, so he gets to do a lot of cool
Mm.
hunting trips and fishing trips and horseback riding and all sorts of good
Oh,
stuff.
fun.
Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite thing that you like to go out and hunt?
That's a great question. I really love duck hunting.
Okay. Why
Really?
duck
Yeah.
hunting?
I just love the way the sun rises over the water.
Mm.
Um, I love the noises ducks make, and I like the fact that you don't have to be quiet or worry about how you smell. You can, be chit chatting until you
Yeah.
see, birds coming in, and then get it together. And,
Mhm.
you don't have to be quiet the whole time. You can still be social. I love duck hunting.
I don't like being cold and wet,
Yeah.
so duck hunting's pretty much out for me. But uh, it's like I love upland hunting mostly for the dogs. It's I like pheasant, I love quail, um, but when I go, my main source of enjoyment is watching the dogs. I
Mm.
love watching them point. I love watching them flush, and retrieving just cracks me up because they're so happy. Like
Yeah.
they're, oh,
Just
look what
so
I've got.
proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what, they were bred to do.
Yeah.
I imagine it's similar with duck hunting. Seeing a black lab come back with one in its mouth has got to be pretty awesome.
It is. It is really special. My husband and I do have a upland bird hunt scheduled for October here in Maine. So it'll be
Ooh.
our first upland hunt. We're gonna chase wood grouse or
Yeah, I was gonna say
woodcock and
grouse.
grouse.
Okay. That's fun.
So
So do you have bird dogs?
we do. We have a
Okay.
black lab actually. You just
Ah, there you
Oh,
mentioned.
go.
Yep.
love that.
So when
Yeah.
you're out in the backcountry of, I know this will be your first year up in Maine, um, but there are some really good sized black bear out there. Are
Yeah.
you planning on carrying a bear defense gun or?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know what that looks like yet, but
Okay.
there are a lot of bears. There's a very significant population of bears. They estimate 30 to 50,000 here in Maine. And it's uh, not enough people hunt them because you could come in for $189 as a non-resident and get 2 over-the-counter tags, and we could go
That's it?
in August. Yes.
Wow.
We
So,
taking a trip?
yeah,
I'd go to Maine in a second. I
Okay.
love Maine.
I have some gals
Um,
coming up this year, and we're gonna give it a DIY try. So,
Nice.
well,
yeah.
if you do that, just a couple of things. Great white sharks and bears are two like things I'm kind of obsessed with. If you haven't decided on a bear defense gun yet, a 10 millimeter is a great choice. Um, you can even get cheap ones, like High Point makes one. I think it's like $200. I wouldn't recommend putting your life in the hands of a High Point, but
No,
whatever.
no.
Yeah, they're not always the most reliable. But bear grease, if you do harvest one, is extremely valuable now. So
Okay.
I guess it's a similar process to making tallow, but it has even more uses. A lot of people are starting to use it for some like uh, homeopathic recipes. And then the other thing is black bear specifically is one of the animals that we still hunt that you need to be very worried about trichinosis.
Trichinosis.
So
Yep.
yeah, they have a higher tendency, there's a higher percentage of trichinosis in them than any other animal that we hunt, except for some weird small little thing that we don't, or it's not very popular hunt. Also, I don't know what your thought process is on baiting, but often the black bears that you get over bait tend to be ones that also eat out of garbage dumps.
Right.
So,
I've heard
and they're going
that.
to taste like what they eat.
And I've also heard recently that dandelions are also the first source of food for bears, not just bees, in the springtime. When they come out of hibernation, they go for dandelions. So you could even hunt without bait if you found a good field of dandelions or colt's foot.
What is it? Coldfoot?
Colt's foot.
Okay. That
Yeah,
one
it
I'm
looks.
actually unfamiliar with.
So
It
anybody know
looks-
why dandelions?
So,
No, you go ahead. I
okay.
don't know.
Dandelions are not native to the U.S. They were imported. They brought them over from Europe, and they brought them over for food and medicine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a wild occurring. It's
Yeah.
basically escaped. But have you ever had fried dandelions?
I've had like dandelion tea and stuff.
No.
Not fried.
Yeah, but it was a food source for like, pilgrims is probably, but early settlers.
But like, why do bears specifically
go after it?
go after
I
them?
think
Yeah.
it's just because it's sweet, that's,
Okay.
and it's a good nutritional source for the first, bit of food for the spring.
Yeah.
Dandelion capers is another thing that you can do before they bud out. You can make them into little capers that you would use in cooking.
Do they taste like the
Mm.
regular capers? Really?
Yeah, it's interesting.
We should try that.
We should try that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
think-
always easy to find. Just look
I
in
think
my
you
yard.
guys should also have a cook-off on the pheasant rangoon.
I never thought of that.
Just
Yeah,
see whose is
I'm
better.
100% ready.
I don't
We
remember
could
what
do it this
seasoning I
afternoon.
used on it, though.
I do. I have videos of me doing it.
Well, tell me what you used.
No.
So I won't use it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get
Yeah.
into that later.
That's fine. Well,
Do you have it sounds like you've gotten an opportunity to do all sorts of amazing hunts. Do you have a specific favorite one?
Yeah. There was a young girl that I met at the Kansas Ringneck Classic. She was 16 when I met her, and she had a bit of a troubled life, and was embracing the outdoors as kind of her therapy. Was having significant progress in sobriety, getting back on the right track in life, just through her participation in the outdoors. And we worked with the Kansas Department of Wildlife to secure a doe hunt up at Benedictine Bottoms in northeast Kansas. And her mom was with her. They came out, and I mentored her on a doe hunt, and she was able to harvest her first deer. And we tracked it and found it right there. It was that was probably my favorite hunt ever.
that's really special.
Yeah, there's so many stories like that, especially when you get people on their first hunts and if they're on the younger side. We work closely with an organization called Passing On Outdoor Mentors.
Yeah, we love Brittany.
We love
Yeah, so do we.
Brittany.
She looks like a Disney princess in that she has the
Yeah.
liveliest eyes you're ever going to see.
That
Like there could
smile.
be no light in a room and her eyes are still sparkling.
And,
And then she's, gets the huge
Yeah.
smile. She's such a kind
And her
person.
sweet baby looks like
Looks
a Disney
just like
princess in baby form.
That is
it was
kinda
copy.
true.
I hope she
paste.
listens to this.
I hope she does too.
But the person who was the CEO before her, Mike, I would ask him, what are some good hunting stories? And he told me one about a hamburger helper with an underprivileged kid where he said, what could I do with this? And he's like, oh, it'd be great. And he said, would it be good in hamburger helper? The kid asked. And he's like, oh, yeah, it'd be great. And then he's like, okay, good. Because we usually don't have any meat for the hamburger helper. And now I do. And I was like, okay. Like,
That's so sweet.
it's a good story.
my.
I was literally tearing up on the podcast. It was
Yeah.
absolutely great. So I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I've done a lot of cool things myself, but it's lost its allure. I mean, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to see other people learn how to do it.
One of the other events that you're having coming up is a handgun basics, it looked
Yes.
like.
Hmm.
Where is that going to be?
That is at McLeod Defense in Rantoul, Kansas.
Okay, so that
So,
is in Kansas.
yeah, we have 3 spots left open for that. Registration closes on Thursday, and it is actually on Saturday the 10th. So, it's $80, and it's a 4-hour class. They provide everything for you: the guns to try, all the ammo you need to shoot. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for anybody who is looking to try a variety of different handguns, get some really thorough instruction, and maybe even advance their skills if they're already sort of developed. It's an opportunity for anybody, intermediate or beginner, to come together, and it's going to be great. I'm sad I'm missing that one too.
Yeah, because over
Yeah.
the last 5 years, one of my favorite statistics is the growth in specifically women who are doing everyday carry now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really think that's an important thing. Growing up in New York and then moving down here and living in Texas for a while, one of the things that was most interesting to me, and I knew it was going to happen though, was just the difference in politeness, day to day polite. And somebody explained it to me when I was down in Texas. They're like, well, a polite or an armed society is a polite society because nobody feels like they are just going to run over this person and make them do whatever they want. Because if things go as bad as they possibly could, you don't know if that person's carrying.
Right.
I think personal defense is also another great confidence builder.
Absolutely.
If you're walking around an area and you're afraid, people pick up on that.
Yeah. The NSSF
True.
just released a statistic that said that last year, 70% of first-time gun buyers were women.
Yep.
70.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did my concealed carry class when I lived in Kansas. I don't know when I was like right when I was 21. And I think that everyone should be required to take that class just because of the things that I learned. Like not even the like certification, but I just learned a lot about gun laws that
Oh yeah.
I did not know. Or my favorite one is still the carrying throwing stars is technically considered a weapon that you have to have a concealed carry license for.
Right.
So are nunchucks.
So weird.
But like the thing that got me going through that is I was like, I've had a hard time wanting to carry since because of the like emotional responsibility. I feel that if there was some sort of a situation, I'm responsible to protect the people around me. And that has been something that I just mentally have gotten kind of stuck on.
Yeah, you have to remember that main person you have to keep safe is yourself. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with someone's drowning.
That's true.
Like, make sure you can swim before you jump in and try and save somebody.
Yeah.
2 other questions I have for you that I just want to make sure I get to. Do you have a favorite wild game dish? Something you like to make out of whether it's pheasant, deer?
I had goose bacon recently. That was absolutely phenomenal. Um, I can't make it, but I know where to get it.
Okay.
I'd love to learn how. That was fantastic. And then this is going to be totally wild, and you guys might think less of me after telling you this
Oh,
story,
I'm
but
in.
one time we did a trapping camp, and one of the animals that we harvested was a bobcat.
Oh,
And so we had some of the gals, actually one of the Pass It On Outdoor Mentors gals was there, and she
cool.
said, I have my Traeger, my portable Traegers in the truck, guys. We could try this cat if you want. So they seasoned this cat up. We cut it into like kind of pork chops and
yep.
the back strap, and threw it on her grill with salt, pepper, and garlic. And I'm telling you, you have never had a pork chop that was so moist and tasteful. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
So I've spent a lot of time thinking about this because we had a very similar situation. We work with a guy, Nick, who has a TV show called Nick's Wild Ride. And we asked him, hey, what's your favorite wild game? And he kind of went a little bit quiet on it. He's like, it's not even my favorite wild game anymore. He's like, it's my favorite meat. And his was mountain lion.
Ooh.
So we finally found somebody who had just shot one and they sent us some of the backstrap. And that we had the exact same reaction to it. Like, we thought he was messing with us. And then when we cooked it, it is more tender and a little bit sweeter than pork. But it's incredible. And the best I could come up with is mountain lions, bobcats. They spend their time either like laying around doing nothing, being lazy, or going for it. So they create big, strong muscles, but are relaxed. That's the best I could come up with.
That makes sense.
But I'm
It was
glad to hear
delicious.
that you tried it. Yep, it is absolutely delicious. And then, do you have a favorite hunting rifle, hunting gun, shotgun?
I'm particular
To my father-in-law's Benelli 28 gauge. It's fun to shoot. I don't necessarily knock down birds very well with it, but I like how light it is in the field.
Yep.
I have a Winchester, and it's just so heavy trying to carry it. It's really only a waterfowl and turkey gun. I can't upland hunt with it because my arms get to aching. But I like the Benelli 28 gauge.
And that's really important, especially if you're going to do a long day of upland hunting, like something that you can comfortably carry. One of my over-unders is just like a chunk of wood, and it's not fun to bring. A real quick funny story. Ali and I have gotten a chance to do pheasant hunting together a handful of times.
Yeah.
And we ran into your wildHERness again at the Big Al birthday bash. And we happened to be out hunting with him as well. So we're walking along, and it's Ali and I in this one field, kind of separate off from everyone else. And pheasant flushes, and Ali's behind me, and it's coming right over me. And I go, no, I got it. Miss, as it goes right over my head. And Ali goes, no, I got it. Boom. And it comes straight down. And I look back in the field, and, Big Al's kind of looking at us, and he's just like, and he just walked on. So it's pretty funny.
There's plenty of other times where I missed birds, though, that I think you knocked them down. So
Yeah, but that one was the funniest because it came directly over my head.
I just love the ones where you're like so confident. I got this. Like, okay, you don't got this.
It was the forcefulness I said it with too. I was like, no, I got it.
It's a team sport, and you just proved why.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Everybody's got to have a good backup.
Yes, I'm your backup. There we go. Does that?
No,
Wait, if you're hunting birds, does that make you like a wingman? I feel like wing fits in well to that.
Nice.
We're getting
We
there.
got to come up with a term.
This is why I work in marketing.
A couple other. What else are you excited to do when you're up in Maine? Because there's so much up there.
There is a bay
Just south of Acadia National Park near Castine, Maine, that has bioluminescent plankton. So I have a women's weekend a Maine coastal adventure weekend in August. So for the first 2 weeks after a full moon, that bioluminescent plankton really glows. So they have glass bottom kayaks. You can go out and paddle around and stir it up. But when we're going at the same time, the Perseid meteor shower is going to be going on. So hopefully we'll be getting a show above the canoe and below the boat. So
Okay, that's in August, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's on my birthday every single year. I think that is the greatest gift I've ever been given by God. Meteor shower. Yes. It's so
How
fun.
lucky.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So
But
I'm really looking
I kind of
forward.
want to go to Maine now.
I
Everything
think
you're
you should.
saying.
Yeah, Maine's awesome. It's expensive though.
Where we are, it is rather expensive.
on the coast, moving inland a little bit, you trade dollars for feet of snow. So it's really,
A toss up.
And then the other thing, and I don't want to, freak you out here or not, but there are many confirmed great whites going up and down the Maine coast now. They
Don't
used
be
to not
concerned
be
about
there.
this.
Listen, the first thing I do every day is I go to news.google and I put in great white shark to see what the most recent stories are. So I'm obsessed. So you don't need to worry about it, but they are there again.
That's awesome. I'm very excited to hear that because I thought
I was going to have to go all the way to Cape Cod to try and see one.
I mean, that's still where you would want to go, but it sounds like you're saying you want to see one, and that doesn't make any sense.
I do. I
That-
want to see
that
one.
can't be.
I love how most podcasts, I'm like trying to encourage John to not just bring up sharks. And there's been multiple times that it's been natural. Like he hasn't tried to bring it up. It's just a part of the conversation. But yes, you don't need to be super stressed about this. John is ridiculously obsessed with sharks
Okay.
and bears.
That's why I live in Kansas.
Okay.
But the one you should be at least slightly nervous about, I'm sure you are moose.
I haven't even seen one yet.
Well, you're gonna, if you go out hunting for bears, you're gonna run into them.
In Maine?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
and they are huge. I remember the first moose I ever saw was in Maine, and I saw it from maybe 500 yards off. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, is that a horse? I'm like, that's a really big horse. Getting closer and closer. I'm like, no, that's way bigger than a horse. And that's
Oh
like, yeah, it's a
my.
moose, you idiot. I didn't know they were that big.
I've only seen the moose in Colorado, the Shiraz moose,
Ooh.
and they're the smallest subspecies. So I can imagine my world is going to be blown when I do finally make the encounter.
They're absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
But they're cool. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, yeah. So far, so good. And the adventure with the bioluminescent plankton also includes Maine blueberry picking. So it's a full circle
Ooh.
experience.
I'm sure you've heard this, but if you manage to take a bear over a blueberry patch, it's supposed to be like the absolute best bear meat you can get.
Mm.
I'm taking notes, John.
Okay.
So bears on dandelions and blueberries.
I don't know what dandelion does. As far as she was just saying that it's one of the first things they
The thought
want.
of a bear eating dandelion does seem like cute to me.
You like it?
Yeah. So a
It's-
bear eating blueberries and then tasting delicious sounds great.
Blueberry flavor.
Ali, do you have any more questions for Jess?
I could probably keep going for hours, so I probably shouldn't. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you,
Jess, we
guys.
really appreciate you coming on. Is there any upcoming events that you specifically want people to know about?
We are also doing a horseback ride to Devil's Den, Arkansas, coming up
Ooh.
here May 17th. There are a few more spots left on that, and it's just a leisurely ride up to a meadow for lunch and then a leisurely ride down during sunset. So that
Fun.
one is open for registration on our website right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on and talking through all things wilderness.
Absolutely.
This has been a lot of fun. I feel like I've
It's
learned
been
a
my
lot today too.
pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks a lot, Jess.
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to wildHERness.com. To get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at Meatgistics.com. wildHERness, everything but the meat.